All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and like the title says, I need more space. My garage is running out of room, and obviously most of my videos on this channel is car related, doing DIYs and stuff like that, so I need a functional garage. And thankfully I do have a good amount of space, but it's one of those things where you can't ever have too much room. The more space you add, the more space you use. And so it's time for some spring cleaning, and I am working with Fleximounts again to improve my garage storage solutions. So as you guys see in the back, I have my wheels up on the lift that we installed last time, and this time we're going to be installing some foldable racks that allow you to basically utilize the storage space when you need it, but fold them completely out of the way so they're not taking up extra space when you don't. So really excited to get this installed. I'll go ahead and show you guys what it looks like, what comes in the box. We'll do a DIY install, and then I'll show you the functionality so you can decide if this is a solution that you need for your garage. And as always, check out the link in the video description. That'll be the best place to buy it, and usually it has the best prices as well. Keep in mind that is an affiliate link, so it does support the channel. So let's go ahead and get this installed. I'll show you guys what we got, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. All right, guys, so this is what we have going on. So as you can see, this is Fleximounts garage solution, and you can see the part number right there if you want to look it up. But this has a couple key things. One is it's a 2x6 wall rack. So you're going to mount this on your wall. It's 2 feet deep, 6 feet long, and you're going to be able to store a lot of stuff on that just based on the size. But the other crazy thing is this can hold up to 900 pounds, which is insane. I'm going to be definitely testing that at some point, I'm sure. But it's really great to know that you can put as much stuff on there as you need, especially in a garage where you probably have some heavier equipment. But the other key thing, even on top of that, is this is a fold down rack. So from what I can see online, this is basically a hinge down at the bottom. And if you take stuff off of it, you can fold it in and the rack will fold flat against the wall. So especially if you have like a tighter garage, maybe you're mounting this next to your car or something, or every once in a while you need the extra space. So you can clear stuff off, fold it flat, or whenever you're not using it, fold it flat, and that will give you the extra garage space you need. So this seems like a really convenient solution for my problem, which this is the problem. And this is kind of behind the scenes. For those of you guys that don't want to see what's behind the camera and stuff, look away. But this is what we have going on. So I've got my garbage can. I've got my new tool bench. I actually just got this over winter. I used to have like an old desk that I had from high school here, and that's what I used to store all my tools in. So no shame in my game. Finally upgraded and got an actual toolbox with a bench. And then over here, we've got everything else. This is what we really need to clean up for our spring cleaning, because over winter, stuff just gets thrown in here. Nobody wants to be in the garage when it's 20 degrees. So it's kind of just in and out. I want to get this snow blower out of the way the most though, because obviously that's seasonal. That's something I only use 2 or 3 months a year. So my thoughts are, up here, I've got the lifting platform that we installed last year, and I'll have that video down below if you guys are interested in this solution. Basically, the platform lowers down. You can load it up at your level and then lift it up to the ceiling by cranking this. It actually has a pulley system that pulls it up out of your way. And so that's what I've been using to store my extra wheels and tires. But I'm thinking I can put these on the other rack and then get this snow blower. Since it's really heavy, really bulky, I can literally just roll this up onto that platform and then lift it up out of the way, and I'll only need to drop it down, you know, like I said, during winter. So that's kind of my thoughts. Obviously, we've got a lot more spring cleaning to do to get all the kids, you know, bikes and scooters and Power Wheels and everything out of the way. So this is a work in progress, but this is going to be a great start to getting that done. So let's go ahead and unbox this and we'll get it installed. All right, so let's go ahead and open this up and see what we've got. So this, I think I've seen this. This is like a template. So once you find your stud, you can actually use this to mark it. And then I believe there's also a level in here. So you can basically use the level to make sure it's perfectly flat. And you mark the points where you're going to drill your holes based on the width between your studs or the distance. So we'll find the studs in the wall to make sure this is secure and can hold the full 900-pound capacity, and then mark those holes so we know where to drill, and then we'll get this mounted perfectly level. So nice touch there to help with installation. Of course, it comes with an installation guide, so you know how to use all the hardware it comes with. Lots of stuff here. And then we've got a bunch of racks. So I believe this is enough again to install 2, because this is a 2-pack. I'm probably only going to install 1 for now, just because I don't know where I'm going to put the second one yet. But at least this will give you an idea of how it all works. So we've got the actual hinges. And then I think this is some more hardware. And these are probably the actual, yeah, so this is more of the rack hardware to get everything installed. So lots of pieces. Sorry, this is so loud, but yeah, lots of pieces. I'll go ahead and read the manual and then we'll start getting this installed. All right, so we've got stuff out of the way, and now we're going to start with finding the studs. So unfortunately, I have to take down this picture my wife took of my car. We'll find somewhere else to put that, but we're gonna grab a stud finder and find where the first stud is and kind of walk our way over, because starting here all the way to my garage door, it's like 8 feet. So I don't have a whole lot of room to fit a 6-foot shelf, but we're gonna make it work to try to span this width as much as possible. To make sure your shelves can support the full weight rating, it needs to be mounted directly to some studs. There are a few options depending on how far apart the studs are, but you'll first just wanna make sure you locate your studs so you can get an idea of where you're going to be drilling. All right, so we've got our studs marked, and just a quick measurement confirms we're about, let's see, 16 inches stud to stud. So it says ideal is 24, but you know, we'll work with what we got. So 16 will work. And we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 studs, 6 studs marked. So I can kind of figure out where I want it. I probably want it more over this way. So I'll start with this stud and then come over all the way across with however many studs we need to make up the distance. All right, sorry about that. I had to move this back because I realize you guys probably can't see what I'm doing, but we're gonna go ahead and use the template. The only thing is, remember, when it folds down, it's going to be like 2 feet below because it's 2 feet deep, right? So if I want it to at least be above my eye level, I want the rack to be mounted 2 feet above that. So when it folds down, it won't go below this level. So that's kind of my frame of thought here. All right, so now we've got the included bubble level. This was in the actual hardware package. So we'll slide that into this square. And I'm gonna hold this way up, like I said, so we can line up the holes, make sure it's level, and we should be good there. So now I'm just going to tape this to the wall so I can make sure I have my hands free to mark these holes. Go ahead and mark each hole with a punch so you know where to drill. Keep in mind with the template, you can only do holes for 2 of the mounts at a time, so make sure they are centered within the stud so as you go across, you'll be able to cover the entire distance. Now it says to use a 10mm drill bit to drill out the pilot holes, but the closest thing I have to that is a 3/8 bit, so that's what I plan on using. We're gonna start with the 1/8 just to get it, you know, the hole lined up, and then we'll come back with a 3/8 bit to open it up a little bit. Now in each of these holes, we're gonna install one of these white anchors. So that will help secure everything into the wall. So push it in there. Here we go. We'll do that for all 12 holes. And then for each of these, we're going to install 1 lag screw and 1 washer. Keep in mind the kit does come with like a hand tool that you can use to drive the screws in, but I have an impact driver, so I'm going to use that instead. It should be much easier. The holes are slotted, So it gives you a little bit of room to adjust. So get everything kind of started in and just make sure it's all lined up and then tighten it down. And that should give you better luck. Pro tip, install the top one first so you don't have to balance all of this together. There we go. So we'll do that for the 3 other mounts as well. Now there are a lot of these different tubes, but they're not really labeled. So the way to know which one is which is the short ones obviously are on their own. There's 4 of those. And then these are kind of paired together. So there's 2 that are in groups of 4 and 2 that are in groups of 6. And if you look at the manual, it'll tell you which one is which. So when you're pulling these out, just pay attention to the ends. You know, some of them have the little notches where it slides into each other. Like these have the little pins on the end. So once you group them all together, you'll be able to tell which one is which. But we're going to start off with these 2 groups of 4 and sliding 2 of those together to make one shelf. So we're grabbing those 2 and then we're going to slide these 2 ends together like so. And just make sure, like if you follow it, that this end has the little U shape. And if you go all the way to the other side, it also should have the same U shape. So it's all parallel. And then when we come to this middle, we are going to put our screw in right here. So you put one end on top, and then you take a nut and put that on the other end, and then you basically hold the nut with a 10mm socket and use a 4mm Allen to tighten it. Oops, flip that around. There we go. So you're gonna tighten this down and do that twice. And then after that, we're gonna pick up 3 of these horizontal tubes. And again, you're going to line up the notch with the hole, like so. Put the screw in on one side, the nut on the other. And then again, we'll tighten it down. If you have a ratcheting wrench, it makes this job a lot quicker. So we'll do that 3 times. So now what we're going to do is take this piece that has all the squares in it to hold the bars, and we're going to install the welded tubes onto it. So we start at one end and slot it in like this, like fit it into the square. And it's hard to do this with one hand, but once you get this in here, you're gonna take the designated screw and put it through that hole. So put the screw in the hole. And I'll probably just do this loosely at first to make sure everything lines up. And then we'll go back and tighten it all down. So get this started. Again, using our trusty 4mm Allen. And we'll do that for the front and the back. And then the next piece would be these tubes, which again, they kind of have the pin on it. So you can squeeze that in and then it snaps into the 3 holes on top of there. So we'll line all this up, push it in the hole, squeeze the pin in, and push it in until it snaps into place. Then on the other side, we're just going to install the same vertical piece, but this time we have to line everything up. So just take your time, get all the bars lined up with their holes. And then once you get it fully seated, you've got the same screw for the 2 welded bars. That's gonna go in there, and that's what's gonna keep all of this tight. And now we are finally on the home stretch. So we're going to get this up here. It does say to make sure the side with the little buttons, like the spring-loaded pins, is pointed down. I'm guessing so, you know, when you put stuff up there, it's not interfering with it getting on the rack. And then there are little notches in each of these mounts. So you're gonna bend this up a little bit and push it all the way into the notch, and then lay it down like so. And then we've got some pins or some screws that we are going to screw in to each of these. And this is what would keep it from actually moving. And then they actually show a pattern in the guide for these additional connectors that kind of space out the cross beams on here and also secures it to the mount a little bit further. So it's these little black pieces in a Ziploc bag, and it basically sits down between each of the cross beams like this. It sits down between it to hold it at a set spacing, and then also these tabs on top hold it down so it stays secure. So we will do that as instructed. Set it on the beam, and then there's a little through hole that you'll run a screw through. And then from the bottom, you use one of those 10mm nuts to hold it in place. So we'll do that at all 4 of the indicated locations. And that is pretty much it. So let's go ahead and test out the functionality. So again, it has these little clips that you can pop off. Let's see. And they're pretty tight. Oh, and there's the hinge. So maybe I'll keep this down here just so I don't lose it. There we go. A little tricky to unclip, but maybe as you use it over time, it'll get easier. And then 4. So once you do this, then the whole thing folds down. Yep. Pretty straightforward. So with this flat, it's pretty much flush with the wall. It's still a little bit lower than I probably wanted, but it should be able to fit everything that I've got going on under here with my workbench and everything anyway. And then whenever I want to load it up, just lift it back up, set this, clip it back in, and booyah. Now we are back in business. So this is super convenient. I'm gonna have to play around with what I want to put up here. Like I said, I think I'll probably mostly put equipment or maybe wheels on this one, and then be able to put like my snowblower over on the lifting platform, so that way I can clear up my space on the floor and get things a little more organized. So definitely we'll be doing more spring cleaning. If you guys want to see more garage stuff, let me know, because I'm gonna be obviously doing that. This is something that is important to me. I know I mostly post car videos, but these kinds of things make the car videos easier, safer, better, because I have my storage under control. So this is obviously very important. So more of this coming soon. And thanks again to Fleximounts for sponsoring this video. But otherwise, that is it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.